All right, good afternoon, cyber traders. Welcome on back here this Thursday, February 17th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, this time of the day, welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of us live inside the cyber group room still. We have Wendy, Michael, Brian, Mark. We have a bunch of us joining us here this afternoon, Mike included as well. We have Chris, loud and clear from everybody. Great to see all of us live inside the cyber group room, like I had said. And for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, welcome on back as well. We have a lot to talk about here today, not just with the falling market, but folks, if you've been checking out the gainers list today, even if you're just joining us over the last 30 minutes, the last hour, there's obviously a bunch of stocks that have completely taken off, right? I mean, just look at the top of the gainers list. ISPO is still up 518%. Even outside of CPTN, which that one we didn't really trade, but QNGY up 59% still and halted at the highs. That's the stock on the screen here. ANGH still up over 127%. So, how frequent is it that we find a stock that can make 100% move inside the cybergroup room? Well, for our longtime students like Gene and Phil and Chuck, I mean, you guys can tell me, but it's to say that we see a stock like this, make 100% move at least, something of that nature, a couple times a week, a few times a week. How frequent is it that we happen to get a stock like ISPO that, I mean, hey, by like 12 o'clock noon, this stock was at, $50, $45. It opened up at 15 today. So you're talking about a 300% move before noon or right around noontime. And this stock doubled up from there. It ended up running all the way up towards a high of like $108, that is. We rarely see this type of move, folks. So, this is exactly what we train for. This is exactly why we're a part of the cyber group room and taking these classes. So it's not just a matter of just looking at the stock and saying, I wish I got in. No, it's a matter of you identifying patterns, and albeit you may not be trading this on, 1,000 shares or even 500 shares. Hell, just 10 shares here on this type of trade can get you your day's pay, if not a hell of a lot more. So ISPO is one of the best moves that we've seen over the last year and counting. Obviously here we are in February of 2022, but even counting all of 2021, this has to be like one of the top three trades, even counting back from the beginning of last year, right? Quick question from Tom here in the chat board asking, how do you manage risk on a stock like that, though? ISPO looks like a heart attack or a blow up waiting to happen. Well, true, right? The more it goes up, you think, well, it's going to pull back, right? It's going to tank. So if you leave a lot of money on the table, who cares? If you can take a clean entry at least, and that's where it starts, Tom, right? If you could take a clean entry, if you know where the big money is, and we teach that all throughout our classes, we're not going to necessarily teach it on like a level 20 stock like this. This thing was one of the faster moving stocks that we've seen, right? But it's to say, at least, when the stock ended up reopening off of its halts, hey, we talk about this all the time in the phase two class and throughout other workshops. But when a stock gets halted and it reopens up, you're going to see what's called the opening halt print. And although there were a few halts here, those were the price levels for you to follow to anticipate continuation. Otherwise, at least for a stock like NVCT, hey, this is another mover that we actually just caught heading into this meeting, another stock up like 60% still. So, hey, this one is not as expensive as ISPO. I ended up jumping in and out of this. Unfortunately, I caught it late. So this is a great one for me to kind of go over for you, Tom, and for all of us here at Live otherwise. NVCT just out of nowhere took off shortly before this meeting started. So once it got halted, hey, I wanted to jump in. But when it reopened up, it just kept going. There was no pullback there. And I'm thinking, all right, well, there's a chance this could end up like ISPO. This thing could pop an all-time high later and fly, right? Well, I ended up jumping in on this trade. It was at $9.16 it was here. And I realized just, hey, it's not making that big push that we want it to make here. If it's not going to break higher, well, at that point, short term at least, you know what way it's going to go. So there could always be an opportunity to re-enter the trade. I ended up taking an 8-cent loss on this position, and it was on a half size position here. So, the loss wasn't big. Look at how big the spread is, though. So it's a matter of at least trying to enter from a pretty strong price level, at least giving you an opportunity to set a stop just in case if it goes the other way. It's to say, though, you don't need to just jump in and out of this over and over. Take your time on it. Wait for the stock to come to you. Right now we even say heading into like 3 o'clock Eastern time from 2:30 to 3 p.m. not really the best time to try and enter a trade. So, hey, this ended up making a nice push earlier, and perhaps in the next few moments, there could be a good time to try and enter, and certainly, hopefully, after we finish up this meeting. But right now, even this here is making a bit of a pennant pattern where the lows and highs are kind of squeezing in together. And with the volume dropping off, I feel like we should know what's more likely to happen to this type of trade here. All right. So, that doesn't give you the exact answer probably that you wanted, but it's very hard to go over one stock very thoroughly in a short amount of time throughout our entire phase 1 through 3 curriculum that we offer here at Cyber Trading University. We teach you the principles that you need to follow in order to try and capture a runner like this, right? So at least for right now, hey, just starting right back from the top here, ISPO, I don't mind putting this on our quote unquote watch list. Fausto mentioned earlier that he said that it looked like this thing was finished, especially right here as it was making the lower high. That's what he was saying. So, it seems like it's finished. I'm going to put it on our list just at the bottom, just in case. We'll keep an eye on it. I always like to say here as a semi joke, but we call it the CTU watch list, right? It's not the CTU you must trade this stock list, right? So we're going to put this on our watch list. Hopefully, this could build up some support at some point soon. If not, we know what way it's going to go. But you could say the same thing on an NVCT type of trade. As I turn back to this, it's now beginning to snap back down a little bit more, like I was insinuating. But I don't mind at least putting this on our main list. This is a new IPO, and it's pretty close to the all-time highs already. It's a few bucks or a couple bucks shy, but just earlier it tried to make that push. I think the all-time high back from February 7th on this trade is at 1035, right? And we know when a stock breaks an all-time high, there's no historical resistance to work off of at least. So, once the stock breaks an all-time high, you will only hope to have this type of, run up after, right? So NVCT we'll put back on our watch list here. ISPO, it looks a little finished, but we'll at least put that at the bottom. The ANGH stock, another one. This ran pretty much at the same time as ISPO from 15 or even 14 all the way up towards 32, just under. And again, this is making the same type of trade, same type of move as the ISPO more so here. So I'll kind of tag these two together at the bottom of our list. It does look a little finished, but just in case, we'll see maybe around 3:15, 3:30 time if they have more signs of life here. All right, but again, hey, folks, there were plenty more. The QNGY we kind of started off with at least here. This one was at the highs when we started the meeting. It's beginning to shake back down a slight amount, but I'll add this to our list as well. The QNGY stock. What was this one here? CPTN. This one we didn't trade. It's only trading 135,000 shares on the day, and I guess you could tell why we haven't really traded this stock because looks like for every time this ended up getting halted, it just reopened up and just got halted over and over. Looks like a bunch of different halts to the point where it ended up opening up like 30 minutes after the fact here. It just got halted a moment ago right now at 2:33 Eastern time. So if it's a volatility halt, my guess is that it will open up within either 5 minutes from now or 10 minutes from now. So perhaps the latest at 2:42 Eastern time, we'll see the CPTN reopen. It's obviously making a big push for us here for the afternoon. That's why we didn't really find this from the morning. But hey, it's just at the highs. It's hard to not put this on our watch list. The gripe is though is that this thing is just trading very small volume right now. So you would want to be very particular about where and when to get in on a trade like this. And again, it just goes to say for all the times that this ended up reopening up, we ended up seeing a big transaction pop up on the time and sales. Most recently, we have a couple of big prints here at 33 bucks, then all the way at the bottom here at 2070. So, if 33 fails to hold as support, then at that point, I would say watch out because, hey, out of 135,000 shares this stock has traded today, you have about 10% of the volume filled in one transaction here at 33 bucks. So I would say 33 would be a really strong support should this happen to pull back. All right. And how about this? One of us on YouTube right now. Looks like Mitch rejoining us, longtime member on YouTube rejoining us here. Mitch Connor asking about the AREN stock. It just reopened off of a halt. Another one. Look at this. This is crazy, folks. We're going to have like a 20 stock watch list here today, and it's going to be all stocks that are like making these, lower float, pops. And we don't always, try and look for these types of trades. I'm actually in on a stock right now that we had on our morning watch list, and that's dropping with the market. So trust me, there's going to be plenty to go around here, folks, heading into the close. But this AR yen trade, I mean, it just reopened up off the last halt and just came back down quite ugly. So I don't know how good this one looks now. Just before, it looked pretty good, at least up until this drop. I'll come back to this at the very end. If we see another pop back up on this trade, I would love to put this on our watch list at least. All right, folks, what we'll do, we'll go right from top to bottom here. Let's see what else we got here in the meantime. We'll find a couple more that are making these types of moves here, I'm sure. IBEX. Nope. I was up 20%. It wasn't really trading much volume, but I didn't know if that was one that was popping just now, like as we're talking. We have the NVCT, we have ANGH, we have the ISPO. You have the warrants for those two on the gainers list. The warrants are typically even less or even more thinly traded, rather, compared to the equities. So I'm not as particular about the warrants unless if it does have good liquidity on the book. Let's see what else we got here, though, otherwise. Geez, I mean, we have a whole laundry list of stocks that are making a bit of a move here. ACVA, it's trying to go. It's not really trading a whole lot of volume per minute. GLBE here, $45 or $42 stock, not really doing a whole lot. Market dropping off, so you know what ETF is up or what group of ETFs are up. It's all the inverse ones, right? So, needless to be said, I should say at this point, but UVXY will add to our main afternoon list here with the SPY drop off. UVXY making a nice run right now. I'm sure you could add, VXX, VIXI, all these others here too. Hey, if you do particularly well on the ETFs, you know who you are already, right? I say that because if you don't do particularly well on the ETFs, you can't really apply level 3 to it or bookmap. The bookmap for ETFs looks really confusing to read. So that's where I say, unless if you already have your own set strategy for ETFs like UVXY or VXX, I would rather you trade equities, stocks, publicly traded companies, if anything. All right. So you know what? With the market dropping off, perhaps we'll find a lot more on the loser side, right? So aside from these low float runners that we've had, AMPL right now is still dropping off here. This is an incredible short, right? With all these stocks breaking all-time highs. How about this? I think it's at all-time lows in shortable, right? So we got AMPL. I would assume we have FSLY. It looks a little choppy. Looks a little choppy here, this FSLY. So I'd rather much follow the AMPL first, but this is pretty close to the lows, right? So, maybe by like 3:15, 3:30 Eastern time, maybe if this breaks lower, this could be a decent opportunity. MTTR, same thing. This stock's much cheaper, good order book, a little slow here at this point, but hey, at all-time lows. I had the short on this from 7:05 this morning. I left a lot of money on the table, but it made for a pretty good 30-cent trade at first. Led to a nice drop, obviously, here where it's breaking under pre-market lows and now at all-time lows here. So, yeah, MTTR definitely adding back to our watch list. ATUS, for as much as the stock dropped, perhaps you're seeing a little bit of a squeeze up here. Hey, a stock's trading about 52,000 shares a minute. Granted, a lot of that is just within these two spikes. So I guess you could say prior to that, it was still trading good volume, 26,000 shares a minute before even these spikes came in. So you know what? I like this too. This one doesn't look too bad. Just as a tradable stock, it is shortable still. So if it does fail to continue to recover here, and if it pulls back, that would be a very good opportunity as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. I guess this will lead me to my trade that I'm in right now. I am currently short on PLTR from 1250. Been on this trade for a little while at this point, but actually, as we ended up seeing the stock begin to pull back under the 1250 level, we had a ton of selling at 1250 early in pre-market. So that's why I was more inclined to try and short it. I wanted to get the short from 1275, but it failed to hit that exact price. And then even here, as it came back down, I really wanted to short it off of the first peak that we had, and it just didn't take my order. So I'm thinking here, okay, well, I don't want to short it above 1250 as it's coming down there, because if that holds, then we might happen to have a little bit of a squeeze first. But it ended up breaking under 1250 rather quick, and I ended up going for the short right away. And thankfully, it paid off. And in fact, we ended up seeing like a 1.8 million share print come in on the tape. That happened shortly after I got in. I was on a coaching call with one of our students when that exactly happened. That print came in at $12.47. That 1.8 million share transaction came in at 12.47 or 12, yeah, 12.47 right there. Well, look what held as resistance, right? Got to follow the smart money. So once I saw this hold and then it began to pull back, I knew to hang on to this trade. At this point right now, PLTR is heading down to 12. We ended up seeing a lot of selling off of 12 actually earlier today, although essentially that price held as support. And Fausto and myself actually both went in shortly after that order got broken through. That led to a nice bounce at first, but you can't keep expecting that same support level to hold and hold throughout the day, folks. So, it's not just because I'm in the trade, and for any of our returning members here, you folks know that, just because I'm in a stock doesn't mean I'm going to put it on the afternoon list here for you. There might be times where I say, it's not going to provide as much of an opportunity for you unless if you're already in. Here in this case, PLTR, it's near the lows. It's at a major critical support level right now off of 12. If this breaks, especially if the SPY continues to drop down, this could lead to an incredible drop, perhaps even down towards 11 heading into the afternoon. So, PLTR, don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but this is looking like a really good trade, at least heading into the close. All right. And then I'm sure that we're going to find a bunch more on the loser side. There's actually a ton I haven't even clicked on yet that are actually shortable. But if there's any other familiar names, folks, that we've traded or called out recently inside the Cyber Group room, up, down, left, right, more than that 5%, just type it in the chat board here. Just let me know. KAVL from Mitch. Wow, look at this thing. Another push on KAVL. Hey, we ended up seeing KAVL finally, take a breath of fresh air here as it pulled back yesterday, but making a strong recovery right now. It's up nearly 7.5% right now, and it's near the highs. It's hard to not put this type of stock on our watch list, right? Got to make sure this continues, though. Mitch, good call. And then he follows up. Man, it's the Mitch Connor show here on YouTube here, asking about FSRD. Oh, there we go. Another one, another low float, runner here. Just got halted right now. It seems at $4.73. You know what? Hey, this one's trading a little bit more volume than the what is that? The CPTN stock. So, yeah, this one, it's hard to not put this on our list as well. Looks like a relatively new IPO from last year. Dropped off quite a bit from 16 down, but right now it's making a big squeeze so far. So, yeah, we'll add this to our list. Why not? All right, so I think that just about wraps it up. I don't see much else across YouTube or Facebook Live from the Cyber Group room. There we go. I knew that we would have to call out from Jeffrey M on AMC. Yeah, I mean, hey, this is going with the market right now, right? So, hey, not only is it, sideless stock that we would just look at anyway, but it's at the lows, right? And it's right at that 5%. So AMC will put back on our list as a short. Maybe you could say the same on SoFi, but AMC is moving a little bit faster. SoFi is down more percentage wise, perhaps, but AMC looks a little bit sharper here in the meantime, it seems like. American Airlines at the low of the day. I was actually anticipating a better drop off on this trade when the market opened up. I ended up getting chopped around a slight bit, took like two separate tiny losses, and then I went for the short, and then I went out break even because I thought I'd get stopped out again. And that's when it ended up making the drop. So this thing has been throwing me for a loop today, this American Airlines trade. But I'm assuming JETS, the airline ETF, is just at the lows right now, with the market drop off and everything happening with Russia, Ukraine. And I don't know the first thing about it. It's just to say, obviously a lot of bad headlines out there. And if there's anything that really escalates in that situation, I would like to think the airlines wouldn't really be doing too well. That would be my particular guess. That's why I was kind of thinking more AAL this morning. But hey, with the way the airlines are looking right now, I might just slap the airlines all together on this list here, like UAL, AAL, JetBlue, obviously Spirit Airlines that we've been following for a little while this week. Another one, another pop. Oh my God, folks, I really don't like putting out a big list here because it's just overwhelming. But pick your weapon, right? As Fausto always says, pick your weapon, folks. Is it the FSRD? Is it this SES trade? Is it the QNGY that could potentially continue to spike up? Well, I think we know our answer on this one at least. All right, so at least we're going to scratch off QNGY from our list. I guess we'll be a little bit more selective now at this point. Yeah, that QNGY looks like garbage right now. ANGH still kind of hanging in there, but it needs to really begin to move back up. I'll keep this on our list for right now. The ATUS still pushing up. I'll keep this on our list too. The NVCT trade, it hasn't completely tanked yet. I'm not going to scratch it from the list like I did the QNGY. All right, so folks, I think that just about does it here, right? I mean, we got a big list here already. In total, we got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stocks, then the airlines, and then UVXY, which is actually not a stock, but an ETF, right? So there's a lot to go around heading into this afternoon. Hey, if you have not watched my video that I put out yesterday afternoon regarding Bitcoin, well, I'll tell you what, it's playing out exactly how I thought it would play out. So I'm ready to buy more. Just got to wait to see what happens around 40,000. So I've been waiting for this. I was hoping to see like a 3,000-4,000 point drop on Bitcoin from the afternoon yesterday. And here we are now, 3,000-4,000 point drop later. So, I'm not going to buy instantly. I want to see what happens at 40,000 on Bitcoin here. But, no surprise with the market drop, right? And we'll see what happens there. All right, folks. But otherwise, I think that just about wraps it up here. So for all of us on Facebook Live, for all of us on YouTube, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you wanted to send over any questions or comments regarding these meetings or our picks, feel more than free to send it right on over to josh@ctutrading.com. And then otherwise, keep in mind that we host free webinars every Tuesday afternoon. Just make sure that you go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream there to register for our next event coming up next Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. For Neil, for Jeffrey, for Tom, John, Chris, Michael, Wendy, all of us live inside Cyber Group right now. I look forward to talking to you folks shortly after 3:30. Take care.
Today, you are invited into the world of Fausto Pugliese, who battled some of the best traders in the world to win the real money World Trading Championships not once, not twice, but a jaw-dropping 12 times. Fausto is opening up his private members-only cyber group to you in this incredible opportunity. What makes Fausto so different, you ask? Some might say it was his upbringing. Others say that he is a family man through and through. But the story goes that when Fausto made his killing in the markets, he reached a pivotal moment in his life. He could continue on the path of so many of the greats, or he could make a hard right turn at the intersection of life choices and do something very different with his life. He could enjoy life without the stress that comes along with all that fame and success. He could spend his days celebrating his beautiful family. He could even give back for that blessing he had received. Fausto could get all that by training the little guy how to do what he does. He could build an army of anti-conformist traders and take out the institutions, one student at a time. And that is exactly what he did. Fausto built an incredible trading school called Cyber Trading University that has helped the lives of countless investors. Now, this is the part of the video where you would see the guru tout a bunch of one-off trade successes, profit claims, and testimonials from a cherry-picked list. Let's be honest, that's what everyone does. And that is why time after time, hard-working people like yourself get duped into following the wrong kind of advice. These so-called gurus want your money, and they will say just about anything to get it. But that just isn't how Fausto operates. Sure, he could talk about his trade room successes and all the watch list stocks he shared with his group that did great. But knowing Fausto, he would probably spend more time talking about the trades that lost money, because that is where he believes you learn the best lessons. Perhaps you are beginning to get why Fausto is so special and why his group is something you should consider being a part of.